Welcome to the first ever Into the Deep podcast, where three slightly above average Deepwoken players talk about and break down the world and state of the game. Today's episode is about legendary weapons, and more specifically, the Rosen's Hellflame. Your host today is me, Tito, Big Shivy, and Bryson. So, first, I think we should talk about the lore of the weapon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so this is an interesting weapon because we know that it's made by Rosen, who is, I think he's like the leader of the summer company, right?
Yeah. Well, assumed leader.
Yeah, assumed. And we know that he's also made Rosen's Peacemaker, and
Also
and
the Storm's
potentially
Eye.
the Storm's Eye. Yeah, it's kind of unclear, but potentially the Storm's Eye. So, this kind of leads me into what are legendary weapons? Because we know that some of them, like the Railblade, are like completely mechanical. They're completely manufactured, like Ignition Union, Summer Company, all these factions just kind of just pulling them out of nowhere, right? And there's other ones like the Curved Blade of Winds, or like what he was talking about before, the Grand Sudaresca, which are kind of like magical. Like they feel more legendary. But where do they come from? You know?
Well, I think in the lore, how it works is there's one copy of every single legendary weapon. And the Crypt Blade is supposed to belong to the Shadow Trainer or the King of Etris right now.
Wait, so is the King of Etris alive? Or is he in like the depths somewhere?
He's like out of commission pretty much because
He
I
should
think
be in the depths right now, right?
He did get assassinated.
yeah, and then the Lord Regent just took over for him.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because all of the legendary weapons were, I believe, made after the Tide, so like in the New World. Like for example, the Curved Blade of Winds was made in the dawn of the new era or the new world as like by the first Gale Breathers, right? And then the Crypt Blade was actually from the souls of those who died in the drowning.
Mm.
So obviously legendary weapons aren't actually older or aren't like the first weapons in the lore of Deepwoken. So I'm just wondering like why are they so powerful if they're after the drowning?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of legendaries, they are. I feel like they deserve to be special. They deserve to be like powerful. They should have like multiple crits, maybe like a passive, right? Like we know that from the lore of the Railblade, it's supposed to passively ward off the parasites in layer 2, right? And I think they should have that. But on the flip side of that, I feel like right now their obtainment is not really what it should be because a lot of it is random. A lot of it is like from places like Diluvian where it really wouldn't make sense. Or like I feel like it should be tied to specific bosses or to specific dungeons that are kind of like linked to it in the lore, because a lot of it like why would you get Storm's Eye from Ferryman, you know, or like why would you get Imperial Staff from Maestro? Like it just doesn't make sense. And I feel like it would be a lot more immersive and kind of engaging if they did do it, or if they even honestly kind of taking a piece from other games, if they made it so that there's a quest to get legendary weapons, you know, and you kind of like you get to learn more about the weapon itself, like where it comes from, like its history, and like how it should actually be like used.
Right. So there's a lot of games, how they deal with legendary weapons or just considerably like legendary items. They have it so there's one, period. And what they do is
Like as in like all players, like there's only
out
one.
of all of the players, there's only one. There's a massively multiplayer online game where they have one legendary item, but they cannot decline any battle requests, and it leaves their inventory after a week. And then
So like Poke MMO.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that with like the legendary Pokemon, they have it. You have it for a week. You cannot decline battles. If people see it and they fight you and they win, then they obtain the weapon, which would also make overworld ganking a lot more popular, because then not everybody has the very strong weapons and people are fighting for a purpose. It just makes it a
Not
lot
just
stronger.
mindless ganking. I think that would actually make it a lot more lively, right? Because imagine you're just fighting some random guild, and all of a sudden you see the Curved Blade of Winds crit. Like the second you see that crit, it's no longer like, oh, some guy just has a curved. It's like, oh wait, that's the guy with the legendary right now. If I kill him, then I can be like, maybe my name's gonna be somewhere in the history of Deepwoken. So I think that's like really big incentive.
I think that's a great idea. I do wonder like where the line between that and like hardcore PvEers who are like going into like deeper layers of the depths or doing like all these secret quests or like unlocking puzzles like the library on floor 2 when it first like came out. Like how is it going to be like related between them actually finding the weapon first and then like hardcore PvPers who are then like fighting each other for it. Like, is there ever gonna be a reset? Is that quest just gonna happen once and like never again? Like, is it just gonna be like tied to like bosses? Like, how is that?
There's a thing with exploration. It's kind of hard to re-explore something once it's already been found. So how they did with Rogue Lineage is for their updates, they would just say, "Oh, go figure it out." And then the players would be off to the races to try and find the thing. Master Oni was a really sought after class, but in order to get it, you had to kill tons and tons of people, and people didn't know that. So when people would finally kill a lot of people, you would realize, oh, in order to get that class, you have to kill so many people, and people start becoming afraid of Oni players because they're trying to go for Master Oni.
I see what you mean, like, because we've seen that with Contractor. Remember when Contractor first came out, and there was that video, and the guy, fair to him, he didn't say how to get it. He was like, I remember he showed it off, and he was like, hit the lore books, guys. And I think that week of Deepwoken, like everybody was like scrambling through the lore, like, how do I find Contractor? And everyone was like exploring things that like usually you just overlook, like in the library for vigils, right? Most people just go there, take the quest for a free mantra, and never come back. But people were checking that. People were like looking in every corner, and I think if we have an incentive for that every legendary weapon, I think would like bring back the sense of exploration that old Deepwoken had.
Mhm. So there's a thing with Contractor. Contractor actually scaled off of intelligence because in order to get the oath, you had to go through all of the lore books and actually find out how to do the really long quest line, which gave you an insane reward. And that's what I'm trying to think they should bring back. Bring back the incentive to explore. One of those things I've talked about is potions. A lot of players neglect potions for requiring so much intelligence, requiring all of this background knowledge, looking through lore books, exploring the hive because the hive has a lot of ingredients there. There's a lot you have to work for to get potions. However, potions can also completely alter the PvP mechanics of the game. How posture potions or health potions heal you to a bar or completely neglect posture and block break on first hit.
Okay, yeah, I think yeah that is definitely something that should be looked into. I do want to say like we should just keep it on the same track of legendary weapons. I think this is like a really good idea in terms of kind of forcing players to go out and like look in every nook and cranny and like talk to every NPC and like actually want to explore because I think that's what Deepwoken's about. It's like why people, or at least why I first started playing, right? Like you have like this giant open world, like things in every nook and cranny, things like no matter where you go, there's gonna be like some secret, there's gonna be some quest, there's gonna be some like weapon. But how does that apply to legendary weapons? And how can the devs possibly change legendary weapons to make it like to make them better and better represent kind of Deepwoken as a whole?
So I think a really good idea is like mixing what Bryce said about having like PokeMMO does, where they have like one legendary weapon, only one copy. But we could also have
I don't know if players are gonna like that.
yeah.
Uh,
So I'm thinking of a compromise. So like for elemental weapons, like the Curved Blade of Winds, Crypt Blade, uh, what is it,
Grand,
Pirate Keeper,
Grand Sudaruska as well.
Grand Sudaruska, those should be one time, like only one copies. But I want to say pseudo legendary weapons like First Light, Rail Blade, Deep Crusher. These things should be copied, like like infinite copies, because we know in the lore that they're manufactured by the Ignition Union Summer Company. So it would make sense lore wise for these legendary weapons to be available publicly, while Curve Blade is locked behind. Maybe they have to go through a shrine in vigils or something like that.
So how would you plan to turn that idea with the Cure's Winter? because the Cures Winter, it resets in layer 2. It's also a legendary weapon, and it's through a quest line. But if every player would have the same quest line, how could you make that only obtainable for one person?
But lore wise, is it only attainable by one person? Because if we know layer two, the timeline collapses every time, right? So it's like time's resetting. So every time time resets, the weapon is created again. So I guess lore wise, it would make sense that it's infinitely manufactured. Unlike the curved blade of winds, which is in the overworld, and the overworld we know doesn't, collapse.
Also, there is the question of like, what is the Cures Winter? Like, is it a legendary weapon like the Curved Blade of Winds, or is it just like your average weapon for like a Kyrsian foot soldier? Like it's special to us, like the player, right? Because we haven't been to layer two, like we haven't lived in that city, but is it special to the people who did live there, or is it just like your average weapon, or is it like manufactured, like the same way that like I'm sure every soldier in the 100 legions has like the same spear, like is it like how special really is it,
So it's about like perspective, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, that too.
So there's another thing. Yeah, I lost it.
Okay. But yeah, going back to like legendaries in the overworld, like ones that can be or that are crafted by different factions like Summer Company, Ignition Union. Do you guys think that those should be tied to quests, or like you should get the materials to like have them build it, or should they be like bosses or dungeons? Like, wait, also the new dungeon, Ceramid Hollow. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think there should be legendary weapons there?
I think I want to go to what you just said. Like we can mix it up. Like I think right now the dungeon they added, I mean, you can tell it was a little bit rushed.
Yeah, nobody's playing that.
Yeah,
Bro.
it's like you go in there, maybe gain some XP, but you don't really do anything. So what I was thinking is like what you said, like you go to the dungeon, but maybe you like excavate ores and like secret minerals, and then you have to go up and do a quest. And as you do the quest, at the end of the quest, you hand in materials that you find, and they're not just gonna give you like they're not just gonna make it for you. Maybe you have to unlock the recipe somehow. Maybe you have to excavate and like there's like some secret like drawing in the walls that shows the weapon. You pick that weapon, give them the materials, and then they give you the weapon. So you have to earn the weapon, but it's not locked behind one person.
Yeah. I think that kind of creates like three different categories of legendary weapons, right?
Mhm.
There's ones that like you craft or you get the materials for, right? And that's tied to a quest line. There's some that you get from a boss, like Chaser's Flare Blood Commas.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense, right? Because like it's like his weapon, or like maybe getting the Imperial Staff from like Prima, like that kind of makes sense because it's tied to that boss. Or maybe even getting Curved Blade of Winds from like Maestro. Does he even use that? I've like never seen
No,
him.
he's a katana wielder. He's
Oh,
always been a
oh.
katana wielder.
Damn.
He's like front lines. That's where you get like Royal Etrian Guard
That makes sense.
and Paired Soul. He's like the inventor
Yeah.
of Paired Soul.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's like three classes. Legendaries that you build, legendaries that you get from bosses, because like it's theirs, and legendaries where it's like an actual legendary in the world of Deepwoken that there's like only one of, right? Also, sorry, this is kind of going off topic, but going back to like the new dungeon, I feel like ores should be a part of that because ores are kind of what the Ignition Union is about, right? They're about mining, they're about like building stuff. And right now, aside from bullet casings, which nobody uses, I'm sorry, nobody.
They're bugged. Please.
Nobody,
fix,
yes, please fix those. Nobody uses them. Ores have like no place. Like maybe like 2 armor sets, and like not even good ones, like need ores to build them. And I feel like we know from bullet casings that ores have like a property to them. So like how should like please do something. Like make the dungeon like worth doing.
Yeah, I really think they should expand on that, especially since Iron Sing can consume ores and have those properties as well. Like, consuming gold gives
Whoa,
you
I did not know that way. Explain that.
so consuming gold gives you a damage reduction property, or no, sorry, a damage buff property.
Wait, and you can just like eat it like you eat a fruit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Damn, I did not know that. That's crazy.
and just eating different types of ores can give you different properties. Iron, pen buff, just like the bullet casings for guns. But I really think they should expand on that. Like, there's a lot of other things that they could do. what I was thinking is that they could do that, add more ores to the game. Since enchants are so easy to get, deep shore, you get enchant ores and stuff like that. Maybe they could tie that into some type of like exploration for mining and craft the enchants for some of them. Like Tears of the Eating Kite, Curse of Yun Shol, like most of the curses, I feel like those shouldn't be craftable. Or stuff like even like solar or vampirism, those shouldn't really be craftable. But stone, metal enchant, a lot of those enchants, I feel like those can be craftable.
Yeah, so I want to go to what you said about enchants. Like, what do you feel about like enchanting legendary weapons? Because we know you can enchant the Railblade now, First Light, right? But like, do you think they should be locked behind a non-enchantable thing, or like,
I think for balancing purposes, like it's probably better if you don't
Yeah.
enchant them. But I mean, kind of what you were saying before, the ones that you can enchant right now are kind of in that pseudo legendary category, or they're not really legendary to the world of Deepwoken. They're kind of just legendaries to us, but they're kind of like craftable, like they're mass producible by whatever faction makes them, right? Also, I completely forgot what you were saying before, but there was something that you were saying, Bryson, that I really wanted to like talk about.
Was it ores, enchants?
Oh, enchants, yeah. So we know that different ores have like different properties, right? So maybe to craft like a chilling enchant stone, like you could find a lot of like Aerosaur. I'm just using that as an example because it's also blue, but like you could find ores with a property that there would be like a big. But like the deeper you go in the dungeon, the more rare ores there are. You find ores with a property that matches that kind of like application of the song, and then that can be crafted if you have a bunch of them, like some other random material, maybe like a monster part or something. That can be crafted into an enchant stone, or you could just craft it into like some other kind of bonus or like equipment piece, you know.
Okay. So I'm going a bit off topic here. I'm going back to the legendary enchants. So back in the day, hero blades, they used to be able to get them enchanted.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is what it was a thing.
back,
Like
Wait, wait,
probably-
wait, wait,
like back in
like,
You,
verse
you could
first-
enchant
no, no,
f-
they
no,
you
an
could
ice
get
one with like blades.
you could get them enchanted.
you couldn't pick the enchant. It's
No,
like in
but
the
they would be
chest.
random. They would be
Oh,
you could
oh.
draw them enchants, and
Okay.
that's how I think enchants should have been from the beginning. You shouldn't be able to randomly just craft one. I think that's how the game should have should have been drawn out, and I think that would work perfectly with the legendary weapons that there's only one of, because I think they should have something that puts them a cut above the rest of the pseudo legendary weapons or the legendary weapons that are mass produced, like having Crypt Blade or having a Pyre Keeper that also has blazing on it or something like Kyr's Winter with chilling or stuff like that, even though they should already have that. But that's what I'm saying. Hero Blades having enchants, it's only strong because you can have there's so many people with hero blades,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying for everything else as well. Like legendary weapons, if everybody had a blazing Pyre Keeper, Chime would be unplayable.
Yeah.
And it just, even though blazings are practically already on it.
Oh yeah, how do you differentiate? Like, because so the idea for the real legendaries, like Crypt Blade, Curved Blade of Winds, there's only one of them, right? People getting ganks to like to win them, pretty much, to be like the one person to use it. How is that gonna go to Chime? Is it just like only one per? Because is it just like the same?
I
Yeah.
think
If you beat someone in Chime, like, and they have the legendary,
Yeah,
is that
then
yours
you
then?
then the person like if you went like if you were an 800 elo and you just happened to have a crit blade and some freshie managed to kill you, bro, I think the freshie should earn the right. Like I think a server wide message should be like
Damn.
displayed saying like the owner of the crit blade has fallen, a new wielder has been chosen.
That would be sick.
global updates
It like
about
yeah, global updates. It tells the guild, it tells the net, it tells the server region, and then like maybe
aura.
yeah, literally, and then in the Discord server, like there could be a channel where it's like bounty hunting, like
walkers.
oh, Voidwalkers actually have a use now. Like you could hire Voidwalkers like in game.
Ooh.
Like there should be a trading system where it's like, okay, Voidwalkers, I'll give you like this item, this and these notes, this HP kit. If you hunt down this player for me, get his item, and return it.
Or requests. Like you can actually make your own bounties on people in the
wait.
game.
True.
Like there's a lot of bounty boards. Like how I think of adventurers guilds. Like you can put requests to have stuff killed for you, bring back an item, and then you'll get rewarded for that venture that you go on. We have these in the form of jobs, but I feel like they could be expanded on more and possibly have so players can make their own and have people like say you need medallions for something or you need knowledge.
Yeah.
And then someone could pay you a pseudo legendary weapon for you to go down, get this thing, and then come back, and then you trade off.
Okay, so we are kind of running low on time, so we're gonna need to wrap this up, tie it back to legendaries. Although I will say maybe our next episode can be about like jobs, weapons, like factions.
Definitely got to expand on that Void Walker.
Yes,
topic.
yes. The whole bounty faction, like all that stuff.
Right.
But final thoughts on legendary weapons. How should they be changed? Yeah, final.
Okay. So legendary weapons should have one exclusive one for the elemental ones, excluding those that can be obtained by anybody. Definitely the pseudo legendaries and the legendaries that are mass produced, they should be toned down so they're not on the same level of legendary weapons. So the legendary elemental weapons have a purpose as well. Also bring back to that enchant situation. I think that like once in a while a legendary weapon should come with an enchant because
Talking about like pseudo legendaries or like
no, like elemental legendaries
if
could
there's
come
only one, how would that happen?
So it's
like
just like
if you kill someone, like there's a random chance that it becomes enchanted
It's like
after
the song blesses you with an
Right.
enchant.
Yeah.
Because you're him
and stuff like that. And then like maybe the longer you have it, it just like gets a little bit stronger, and then people have more of an incentive to kill you right away, or you get too strong, and then the time runs out.
Yo, add a legendary where the more people you kill, the stronger it gets.
That's too OP.
And make it only one. Like there's only one ever. And like it gets stronger, like it's like horrible at first.
oh, so it's stacked.
Oh, okay. So it goes from like a normal sword, and then
Yeah.
like it just like keeps stacking up.
Yeah.
and the
Alright.
stack doesn't go away even if you lose
Yeah.
them. So it
Alright,
goes to the next.
final thoughts, Big Chivy?
Yeah, so I think I want to go back to like the week thing about like losing the legendary for a week. I think it should go to the person who kills. But let's say like you know, you have the legendary weapon, you want to show it off, and you don't log in for a week. I think you should lose that legendary weapon and it should go to like a quest. And no one will know that the legendary weapon has been, back in the shrine or whatever quest location.
Like if you like fall off a cliff.
Yeah. And then it should go there. And then I think someone who just happens to be exploring that location while the legendary weapon is at that quest location should become the new wielder. It shouldn't just stay with the person.
If they have the required legendary.
If they have the
I think that would be a great topic for talking about global events and what
Yeah.
they're gonna do
No, for
with
sure.
Conquest.
That's for another episode.
Yeah, Conquest is never coming, bro. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm Bryce.
I'm Shivy.
I'm Tito. Thank you for listening.
See you tomorrow.